The chamber laughed. Not loudly, nothing so crude, but with the delicate, harmonic chime of 1,000 alien throats expressing amusement in perfect diplomatic unison. Light bent across crystalline walls, refracting the colors of species older than Earth's oceans, all seated in rising tiers above the lone human delegation. At the center floated the sigil of the Galactic Council, rotating slowly, like a patient predator. It was here that civilizations were judged, diminished, or erased with polite smiles. Commander Elias Rourke stood motionless, hands clasped behind his back, eyes forward. He had learned stillness early. Mining taught patience. Survival taught silence. First. High Arbiter Zalveth leaned forward, his elongated form draped in ceremonial luminescence. His voice emerged through the translator's smooth, layered, amused. "Let the record reflect," he said, "that humanity believes itself a military equal." The chamber chimed again, softer this time, a ripple of cultured disdain. Rourke did not react. He had already muted the translator on his wrist. The insult did not require translation. He studied the Arbiter's eyes, faceted and ancient, and wondered how long it had been since they had faced consequences. He suspected the answer was generations. Too many. Complacency bred ceremony, and ceremony replaced thought. The council chamber was designed to overwhelm. Gravity shifted subtly, forcing visitors to adjust with every step. Sound carried strangely, favoring those who knew where to stand. Rourke had learned the geometry weeks ago. He stood precisely where the acoustics flattened, where his words would travel without distortion. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, steady. "Humanity comes seeking mutual security," he said. "Our colonies are under threat." Zalveth tilted his head, a gesture of feigned curiosity. "All emerging species face threats," he replied. "You will adapt, or you will fail." The words were final, polished, rehearsed. They were not negotiable. The vote followed, swift and unanimous. Trade protections revoked. Transit privileges suspended. Human petitions archived and dismissed. The lights above the chamber shifted, signaling conclusion. Rourke felt the change ripple through the delegation behind him. Fear, anger, disbelief, contained, disciplined. He allowed himself a breath. "For the record," he said, "this action will destabilize 12 border systems." Zalveth smiled, exposing delicate mandibles. "Acceptable losses," he said. "Your species will learn efficiency." A tone chimed. An aide whispered into Rourke's earpiece. "Coordinates. Timestamp. Casualty estimates." He did not move. The council had already adjourned. Somewhere beyond the spire, a human outpost burned. The image arrived unbidden, routed through military channels the council could not access. A refinery ring, fractured. Habitats vending atmosphere in pale arcs. Emergency beacons blinking against vacuum. Rourke closed his eyes for half a second. Names scrolled across his implant, too many to read. He reopened his eyes to the chamber. "This attack occurred 3 minutes ago," he said, voice level. "In a zone you just declared unprotected." Zalveth did not look away. "Then your people should not have settled there." Silence followed. Not laughter. Not ceremony. Something tighter. Rourke nodded, once. "Understood," he said. He turned, coat brushing light. The walk from the dais felt longer than it was. Every step measured. Cameras tracked him, cataloging posture, heart rate, micro-expressions. He gave them nothing. Behind him, the human delegation followed, silent. The spire's corridors curved impossibly, architecture grown, not built. Rourke focused on the rhythm of his breath. Anger was useless. Emotion wasted energy. What mattered now was timing. At the transit gate, he paused. "Open channel," he murmured. "Secure line to Soul Command." The reply came instantly. "Channel open," said a familiar voice. Rourke allowed himself a thin smile. "Protocol Iron Wake," he said. Confirmed. A beat. Understood, came the reply. The jump carried them away from the spire's artificial gravity. Stars stretched, then snapped back into place. The human shuttle vibrated softly, engines humming with restrained power. Rourke settled into his seat. Across from him, Ambassador Hale finally spoke. "They wanted this," she said. Not a question. Rourke nodded. "They planned it," he replied. "Sanctions don't move that fast without preparation." "And the attack?" "Demonstration," Rourke said. "They expected panic." He looked at the tactical overlay forming in the air. Red markers bloomed along human borders. They miscalculated. Hale exhaled. "What happens now?" Rourke leaned back. "Now," he said, "we stop asking." Earth did not sleep. It never truly had, but tonight the planet shifted. Factories spun up from standby. Orbital yards awakened, scaffolds unfolding like steel flowers. Messages propagated through civilian networks, stripped of panic, heavy with resolve. Rourke watched it all through filtered feeds. This was not mobilization. It was remembering. He keyed a private channel. "Send condolences to the families," he said. "Full honors." "Yes, sir." "And redirect Fleet Group Atlas to the border." A pause. "That's a defensive formation." Rourke smiled without warmth. "Not tonight." He closed the channel. Beyond the hull, stars burned indifferent. Humanity would adapt. It always had. Hours later, the Council released its official communiqué. Carefully worded. Regret expressed. Responsibility denied. Rourke read it once, then deleted it. He stood alone in the observation bay. Earth rotated below, blue and fragile. He remembered standing in vacuum, years ago, a miner's tether the only thing keeping him alive. Space did not care who you were. Power came from preparation. His console chimed. New data. Council fleet movements. Slow. Predictable. Bound by doctrine. He smiled, this time genuinely. "They still think in ceremonies," he murmured. He began to plan. Not vengeance. Correction. The galaxy would learn. Not today. Soon. The first shot was never fired. It didn't need to be. In the quiet hours before dawn, Rourke sent a single packet of data. It slipped into relays the Council had neglected to update. Algorithms bloomed. Routes recalculated. Dependencies exposed. The galaxy's old skeleton creaked. On the spire, alarms would sound soon. Confusion would follow. Committees would convene. Zalveth would demand answers. Rourke watched Earth's sunrise crest the horizon. Gold light spilled across oceans. "You laughed," he said, softly. "That was your mistake." He turned away as the first Council systems went dark. Not destroyed. Isolated. The war had begun. Humanity was awake. The galaxy had always assumed humanity was slow to react, clumsy in strategy, reliant on brute force over finesse. They were wrong. Commander Elias Rourke watched the tactical feed light up with precise movements. The human fleets were assembling with a discipline that no Council intelligence had predicted. Every jump point, every supply route, every communication node was accounted for. Humanity had anticipated this, decades of planning masked as civilian industry and peaceful expansion. The so-called emerging species had grown quietly, systematically, like iron hardening under heat. Fleet Group Atlas reports, said Lieutenant Chen, voice steady in the operations center aboard the flagship Resolute. The holographic display flickered as positions blinked across it. All units are in formation along the outer rim. Supply chains optimized for rapid deployment. Estimated response time from Council detection, 17 hours. Rourke's eyes did not leave the display. "Good," he said. "And the secondary nodes?" "Online," Chen replied. All non-critical relays now under autonomous control. Council scramblers will be ineffective for at least 24 hours. Rourke leaned back, letting the rhythm of preparation wash over him. The galaxy's elders had laughed, underestimated, mocked. Now, they were entering a web they had no idea existed. Sir, Chen continued, hesitating. We've got reports from the border colonies. Civilians, they're assisting. Manual reroutes, shield maintenance, orbital factories operating on emergency protocols. Entire stations are functioning like military installations. Rourke allowed himself a faint smile. Humanity doesn't need to be asked. They act because it's necessary. He tapped the console. Feed that into the broadcast. Let the council see that their unprotected zones are anything but helpless. Meanwhile, the council was scrambling. High Arbiter Zalveth convened an emergency session. The chamber, once elegant in its calm, now trembled with tension. How did they achieve this? He demanded. His mandibles twitched, a rare sign of agitation. Fleet movements invisible until activated? Logistics bypassing our intelligence arrays? This is impossible. It is not impossible, replied a younger delegate from the Vakar system, voice cautious. It appears the humans have learned to anticipate our standard monitoring methods. Their coordination is adaptive. Zalvetha's eyes narrowed. Adaptive? His tone carried the weight of centuries. They are small, untested. They should be contained. They are, the delegate said. But not in the way we expected. Back aboard the Resolute, Rourke's communication officer interrupted the silent hum of the bridge. Sir, a council frigate group is approaching the Sol Protectorate border. Expected, Rourke said. What's their posture? Defensive, she replied. They're scanning, probing, waiting for a response. Rourke tapped a series of commands. On the main display, the council ships slowed, encountering automated countermeasures that bypassed lethal engagement entirely. Drones appeared, shutting down communications, isolating power nodes, rerouting fuel transfers. The council vessels could not fire, could not move efficiently, could not communicate. Their systems were precise, crippled in a way that left the crews frustrated and confused but unharmed. They'll think we're hesitant, Rourke said. We are not. We are deliberate. Chen raised an eyebrow. Deliberate, non-lethal? Non-lethal for now, Rourke replied. We're making a statement. They need to understand capability before consequences. Across the galaxy, news of the sudden human reorganization traveled faster than light. Even younger species, previously neutral or cautious, began sending scouts to human systems, offering alliances, or at least neutrality. The old council members did not notice. Their arrogance was a slow poison, blinding them to the ripple effect of human action. Sir, said Chen, we have intercepted council internal communications. They're calling it unprecedented. Their fleets are frozen in analysis. Command protocols conflicting. They're arguing among themselves. Rourke's fingers hovered over the console. Good. Let them argue. Every second they waste doubting themselves is a second we gain. On the spire, Zalveth slammed a clawed hand against the console. This is insubordination, he barked. We are the council. They cannot, his voice faltered. Something unfamiliar surged through him, fear, sharp and immediate. It was rare for a high arbiter. The younger delegates sensed it, their own voices rising in hesitant disagreement. Rourke's next move was subtle. He initiated a series of tactical broadcasts, messages appearing in council systems not as threats but as undeniable demonstrations. Supply chains rerouted instantly, frigates stranded in orbit found their power grids interrupted, logistics hubs shut down systematically. Every action was precise, efficient, and fully reversible. Chen leaned forward. Sir, they'll realize this isn't a standard attack. They're interpreting it as sabotage, but we haven't even touched weapons. Exactly, Rourke said. We're teaching them a lesson in leverage. Lethal force isn't necessary when intelligence and preparation outweigh their experience. The Council, in its arrogance, assumed that fleet size dictated dominance. They had not counted on humanity's approach, calculation, precision, and industrial adaptability. Each human installation operated like a node in a single organism, responding instantly, improvising faster than the Council's rigid protocols could anticipate. Hours turned into a tense standoff. Human drones flitted through space, invisible to sensors designed centuries ago. They dismantled the Council's communication relays and layers, isolating command ships without damage. The Council fleet could see their world, their ships, but could not act. They were frozen in disbelief. Zalveth finally spoke to his generals, mandibles clicking sharply. "Contain them," he demanded. "Do whatever it takes to regain control." One officer hesitated. "High Arbiter, our systems are compromised. We cannot deploy without risking failure." "Then we improvise," Zalveth hissed. "We adapt." Rourke observed all of this quietly, the corners of his mouth tightening in satisfaction. Humans did not need to improvise. They had already built adaptability into every process, every calculation, every network. The galaxy had underestimated the species that thrived not because of history, but because of human ingenuity, unity, and relentless will. The final message of the day came from a civilian colony near the frontier. Not a threat. Not a plea. A simple broadcast, routed through the Council networks, showing fully automated human repair stations restoring a shattered orbiting refinery. The message was plain: we endure. You misjudged us. Rourke leaned back in his chair. They'll get it soon, he said. Not because we attacked, but because we reminded them that humanity cannot be contained. Not yet. Not ever. Chin glanced at him. And when they do? Rourke's eyes hardened. Then they'll remember the cost of underestimation. The galaxy had laughed at humanity once. Now, every calculation, every network, every fleet move demonstrated the truth. The species they had mocked was not only capable of survival but of rewriting the rules entirely. And they had only just begun. The stars outside the Resolute's observation deck were cold and indifferent, but humanity had learned to bend them to its will. And the Council, for the first time in centuries, realized that the rules they had relied upon no longer applied. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had moved from demonstration to domination, but not with brutality, precision. Commander Elias Rourke watched the fleet movements unfold across the hologrid aboard the Resolute. Every system they had touched, every node rerouted, had transformed into a fortress of efficiency. Council ships were no longer just frustrated, they were trapped in a web of calculations, reroutes, and redundancies that humans executed instinctively. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen said, pointing at a blinking cluster. "Council Fleet Delta 9 is attempting a breakout. Sensors indicate they're preparing to engage." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Engage what?" "There's nothing left for them to strike." He tapped commands. Streams of data flowed across the display, showing Council ships isolated from supply lines, comm relays down, energy rerouted to protective fields only. "They don't know where to hit," he muttered. "And they never will." Across the galaxy, minor systems watched in awe. Younger species, long under Council dominance, had begun defecting to human protection. Diplomatic channels lit up with requests for alliances, offers of resources, and even volunteers for joint operations. Humanity, Rourke reminded himself, did not seek conquest, only to ensure that no Council dictate could ever again threaten survival without consequence. "Sir," Chen said, her voice sharper now. "They're trying to communicate. Direct channel to the High Arbiter." Rourke nodded. "Patch it through. I want them to hear clearly." The holodisplay flickered, showing Zalveth's angular visage. His mandibles quivered, not with anger, but disbelief. "Commander Rourke," the Arbiter said, voice tight, "cease this immediately. You overstep every boundary." "We are merely ensuring stability," Rourke replied evenly. Your fleet is immobilized, your nodes disrupted, your colonies isolated. Your rules no longer apply. I suggest you adapt. Zalvath hissed, a sharp sound that made even the older delegates flinch. This is insubordination. We will retaliate. Rourke's smile was thin. You already have. You tested our borders, attacked our colonies, insulted our species. Everything you do now is a response to your own choices. On the edge of the system, human drones moved silently. They were neither armed nor aggressive, yet Council frigates reacted as if under attack, energy shields flaring and systems overcompensating. Every maneuver the Council attempted was anticipated and countered, not by human reflex alone, but by foresight embedded in adaptive algorithms. Humanity had built an intelligence network that predicted not just action, but hesitation, fear, and overconfidence. Delta 9 is disengaging, Chin reported. They're retreating toward Kepri 9 orbit. Good, Rourke said. Let them gather. They'll need to plan, and planning costs time they don't have. He paused, fingers brushing the control console. Time is on our side. Always has been. Meanwhile, civilian colonies supplied intelligence, ship components, and emergency power reroutes. Rourke walked the bridge silently, observing the humans around him. Engineers, tacticians, pilots, all operating with the same quiet determination. No celebration, no bravado. Just action. That was humanity's strength, not the individual heroics, but the relentless synchronization of will and effort. Sir, Chin said again, hesitation in her voice this time. We've received transmissions from Council worlds. Citizens are abandoning fleets, defection is spreading. Rourke did not flinch. Let them leave, he said. They'll learn to thrive in a world that respects capability, not ceremony. He keyed a command. The communication network lit up, delivering targeted messages of human organization and competence to Council-controlled systems. The broadcasts were not threats. They were demonstrations, proof that resistance was futile without preparation, and that collaboration with humanity ensured survival. Zalvath, confined to his chamber aboard the Spire, now faced whispers of mutiny among his own delegates. Contain them, he demanded, voice cracking with the weight of centuries. You cannot allow this. It's too late, a junior arbiter said quietly. We cannot enforce anything. Their logistics, their infrastructure, it's beyond our reach. The Council had underestimated more than human technology. They had ignored human instinct, human adaptability, and the capacity for unified action under pressure. Every failed retaliation, every blocked order, reinforced the lesson. Humanity did not attack for glory. They moved to remove risk, to assert permanence, to ensure no species ever assumed humans could be contained. Sir, Chin said, pointing at a cluster of systems on the hologrid. We have complete control over the border systems. Council command centers offline. No communications, no reinforcements, no coordination. Prepare a broadcast, Rourke said. Direct it to the entire Council network. He tapped the final sequence. Let them hear it in their own voices. The message propagated across light years, crystal clear. Humanity's voice, steady and calm, filled every Council comm relay. You misjudged us. Your rules do not apply. Your fleets cannot stop us. Humanity endures. On Kepri 9, Zalvath finally realized the truth. He was powerless, not because of force, but because of comprehension. He could not calculate what he did not understand. Impossible, he whispered. How? Rourke did not wait for the answer. He had no need. The galaxy had learned without bloodshed that human ingenuity was not to be ignored. Fleet movements, civilian cooperation, adaptive networks, everything functioned in harmony, a system no Council decree could break. A final holographic display showed the Spire itself, isolated, surrounded by empty space where fleets had once gathered. Send one last message, Rourke ordered. Do not threaten. Do not gloat. Let them understand restraint and power coexist. The broadcast was concise: humanity will not conquer. Humanity will not destroy. Humanity will endure. Adapt, or accept consequence. Silence followed. Not the Council's silence, but a weighty pause in the galaxy's awareness. Systems began to breathe again under human supervision, allies integrating, colonies stabilizing. The Council had been challenged and failed, but not irreversibly. Humanity's victory was measured, deliberate. It was not chaos. It was order reclaimed. Rourke walked to the observation deck. Stars stretched beyond the hull, indifferent, infinite. The galaxy had doubted the species born from a blue planet with fragile ecosystems and short lifespans. They had laughed, mocked, and assumed inevitability. "You laughed," he said quietly, addressing nothing but memory. "That was your mistake." A fleet of human ships rotated behind him in formation, silent, disciplined, prepared. They had not struck a single Council ship with lethal force, yet the lesson was clear. Humanity was awake, deliberate, and unstoppable when underestimated. And in that moment, Rourke understood the true cost of underestimation: not death, not destruction, but acknowledgement. Respect earned through calculation, unity, and resolve. The Council could rebuild, but the galaxy had already changed. Humans were no longer to be mocked. The first human-controlled jump points blinked across the galactic map, signaling readiness. This was not conquest. It was inevitability. Every Council fleet, every committee, every reluctant ally now understood the same truth: the galaxy could no longer assume what humanity would do, or what it could endure. Rourke turned, facing his crew. "Prepare for return," he said. "We've shown them the price of oversight. The rest is up to them." Chen nodded, relief and awe in her expression. "They'll remember this." "They won't forget," Rourke said. "And neither will we." The stars outside remained indifferent, but humanity had carved its mark, not with fury, but with clarity. They were no longer emerging. They had arrived. The galaxy was quieter now, but the silence was not comfort. It was the hum of a world forced to reckon with what it had ignored for centuries. Humanity had not destroyed. Humanity had not enslaved. Humanity had ensured that no one would underestimate them again. The difference was subtle, yet devastating in its clarity. Commander Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the Resolute, observing the stars with the practiced calm of someone who had seen disaster and survived. "Status report," he said. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across the controls. "Border systems secured. Council fleets immobilized or rerouted. All civilian colonies operational. Young species requesting integration into human supply networks. No hostile activity detected in 24 hours. Rourke nodded. "Good. Keep them monitored. We don't ignore potential threats just because they're silent." "Sir," Chen added, hesitating. "There's a message coming through from a Council delegate, the Vakar. They want to negotiate." Rourke allowed a thin smile. "Finally. About time they learn that dialogue matters when you are shown your limits. Patch it through." The holodisplay flickered, and a faceted face appeared. The Vakar delegate's expression was cautious, almost fearful. "Commander Rourke," the alien said, voice trembling slightly, "your actions, unprecedented. We wish to discuss a ceasefire and the re-establishment of cooperative agreements." Rourke leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Cooperation is possible," he said evenly, "but only on terms that respect capability, foresight, and survival. Anything less risks repetition." The delegate's mandibles clicked softly. "Understood. We will comply. The Council is willing to consider a new charter, reflecting humanity's place among the stars." "Good," Rourke said. "Start with transparency. Every system, every fleet, every industrial hub must be documented and protected. Humanity will oversee the implementation." Chen exhaled. "Sir, they're actually agreeing to this." Rourke's eyes were distant, but sharp. "Not agreeing. Recognizing reality. There's a difference. We have not demanded conquest. We have demanded acknowledgement. Outside the observation deck, stars stretched like silver ribbons, indifferent and infinite. Yet humanity had carved order into chaos. Systems once considered marginal now thrummed with human precision, orbitals aligned, factories humming, logistics networks seamless. It was not power for dominance, it was power for survival and preparedness. "Sir," said Ensign Laura from the tactical station, "our recon shows Council archives being reorganized. They're declassifying their previous underestimations, exposing all failures and miscalculations." Rourke nodded. "Let them record it. Let history reflect what happens when arrogance meets preparation. That is the truest lesson." A soft chime interrupted the bridge. The communications officer looked up. "Incoming from Sol Command, sir. Earth itself, sending a message." Rourke accepted the feed. On the screen, a hologram of the planet rotated slowly. Cities glimmered, orbital defenses twinkled, industrial hubs rotated like clockwork mechanisms. A voice, calm yet resolute, filled the room. "To all systems in the galactic quadrant, humanity has demonstrated that restraint is not weakness, and preparation is not aggression. Let this be the foundation for cooperation, respect, and shared survival. We do not conquer. We endure." Rourke's hands rested lightly on the console. "That will do." Chen looked at him, eyes reflecting awe. "Sir, you realize this changes everything. The Council, the galaxy, everyone now has to reckon with humanity as a major player." "We always were," Rourke said quietly. "They just needed to see it. Sometimes the galaxy's patience lags behind reality." A sudden alert drew their attention. A small fleet of human exploratory vessels was leaving a remote jump point. "Recon mission," Rourke said. "Nothing aggressive. Just presence. Knowledge. Let the galaxy know we are vigilant, not vengeful." Across the communication channels, the Council delegates began to issue public statements. Carefully phrased, respectful, acknowledging human capability. Not all agreed, but none could deny the outcome. Humanity had not demanded victory, they had enforced inevitability. Chen glanced at Rourke. "Sir, what about Zalveth?" The commander's gaze was steady, his voice measured. "He will adapt or fade. That is not our concern. Humanity's focus is ensuring no one again assumes we are weak, slow, or irrelevant." Outside, the void was indifferent, but the human fleet moved with purpose. Each vessel a testament to discipline, adaptability, and foresight. Each station and orbital a node in a network that ensured survival, knowledge, and resilience. Rourke allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction, not pride, not triumph, but understanding. Humanity had arrived at a point where survival was assured, and underestimation no longer an option. "Sir," Chen said softly, "the galaxy is watching." "And they should," Rourke replied. "They will watch. But they will also learn. Not from fear. From example. That is humanity's strength. That is how we endure." The communication feed flickered again. This time it was an open channel from a Vakar system, one of the younger species. "Commander Rourke," the delegate said, "may we visit human systems? Observe, learn, integrate? Our people, we wish to understand how to survive and thrive as you do." Rourke regarded the image calmly. "Observe. Learn. Adapt. That is the way of progress. But know this, survival requires commitment, precision, and unity. There is no substitute." The Vakar bowed. "We understand. Thank you." Rourke turned back to the stars. "Prepare a report for Sol Command," he said. "Outline the new charter proposals. Document all integrations. Track all communications. Humanity will lead, not through domination, but through clarity, preparedness, and example." "Sir," Chen said, this is unprecedented." Rourke smiled faintly, not at the scale of events, but at their inevitability. "Unprecedented only to those who ignore history and potential. Humanity is not the first species to exist, but we are the first the galaxy will never misjudge again. The Resolute adjusted its course toward a human-controlled jump point. Outside, stars stretched across the void, silent witnesses to a species that had once been mocked, now standing resolute among them. A final transmission from Earth reached the bridge. Not orders, not instructions, but a reminder: prepare. Endure. Learn. Humanity's place is earned through action, foresight, and unity. Never forget that restraint is strength, and preparation is power. Rourke closed his eyes briefly, letting the message sink in. When he opened them, he looked at his crew. Set course for home, he said. The galaxy has learned a lesson. It's our duty to ensure it is never forgotten. And as the fleet moved, coordinated and precise, the first real sunrise touched human worlds. Not a dawn of conquest, but a dawn of recognition. Humanity had endured, adapted, and asserted its place. The future was uncertain, but the lesson was clear: underestimation of humans was a mistake no one would repeat. Silence settled on the bridge, not tense, but assured. Humanity had proven its worth. The galaxy had witnessed it. And a new era began, not with rage or destruction, but with measured, unstoppable resolve.